All right. Welcome, everybody. How's everyone been? It's been a long time since I've been live, and we're going to wait for some people to get in and join us today. Very excited to be here. Like I said, it's been some time. So let's just wait for people to come in today. And like I said, we want to talk about training the mind. I know oftentimes as I'm going through all this stuff with the conference, right? It's been really difficult for me and my team. And so I thought that we can talk about some of the hacks that I've used in the past, some of the things that I've done in the past in order to be able to help me get through some of the challenging times and things that I've faced. So I definitely want to talk about that today, show you some of the things I've learned. If you've never heard of James Altucher, we're gonna mention his name a couple of times because when I was at some of my lowest lows, it was James Altucher and his content that really helped me out. So if you've never heard of this guy, James Altucher, he's a famous author, podcaster, and he's written a bunch of books out there. I used to listen to him all the time. And in fact, he was the one that taught me some of the concepts and ideas that we're going to share today in this lesson. So welcome, everybody, to today's session. Happy that you can be joining us. And let us know who's out here listening today. By the way, how many people are coming to the summit? How many people are going to be at our event coming in about 28 days from now? Right? Excited for that? How many people are going to join us down in Miami October the 12th? How many people going to join us down in Miami October the 12th? Very excited. Looking forward to it. We still are lining up speakers, sponsors. Literally today, these are my notes from today. So I can tell you it's been hectic. And thank you for all my team, Erica, Maria, Yvette, everybody, Brandon, Randy stepping up, Michelle, right? Shannon's been like pulling through like crazy. So thank you, everybody on our team, our staff that's been helping us pull this together. It's really pushing me outside of my comfort zone. So who's in here? Yvette, I see you. Edward, what's going on? Jonathan Davis, how are you, sir? Clear-minded thinker. I love the name. Can you guys hear me okay? Just checking in. I cut my head. Did you guys catch that? So, can you guys hear me okay? How's my sound? Gerald Copens. Nice. Rhonda, Medical Wigs. Yep. Dylan said, yeah, he caught it. Yeah, I'm still, believe it or not, I'm still learning how to shave. All right. Loud and clear. Good stuff. Good stuff. So who in here, right? Raise your hand. Who in here has a problem with overthinking? Anybody here has a problem with overthinking? Right? Who in here is like, man, I overthink everything. I'm constantly like, before I make a decision, right? I'm looking for every single like way in which it could be perfect. Or maybe you're on the opposite end, right? Yeah. Okay. Man, Joe, thank you. Right. Sometimes I do, but not all the time. Okay. All right. Okay. That's good. Who in here has problems with coming up with ideas, right? Like, hey, you run into a situation and you're stuck and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to get out of this situation. I don't know what to do. All right. How many people are here in that camp? Overthinker all the time. Like, nice. Yeah. How many people are in the camp where, for example, I'll give you a recent example that happened to me. We signed up for this service recently. And on this particular service that we signed up for, we signed a contract, my team, and it was like an annual contract. It was like $6,000. And we decided we didn't want the service anymore. And so because of that, we decided we wanted to cancel. And they said, you can't cancel because you signed the contract. Right. And so most people in that instance would give up. And I just remind my team all the time that we're dealing with people. I know that we sign contracts and agreements, but at the end of the day, there are people behind those contracts, behind those agreements. And so what I've learned is what I call like second level thinking. And so I don't just take whatever people give me. I go like second level thinking. And Jacqueline, I read you. Maria, necesitamos más video en YouTube en español. I hope Maria is there to read your message, Jacqueline. I'm going to post it up there for Maria to see. Maria, you see what Jacqueline says? She needs more videos in Spanish. So Maria promised Jacqueline to make more videos in Spanish. So we hope that she gets your messages. But yeah, so one of the things when I was struggling and I was stuck and I was confused and I was like at the bottom of the barrel and I wasn't sure what to do, right? I read something that James Altucher put out. And so James Altucher put out this article. By the way, again, if you are in a situation where you really need hope, all right, he's got some really good posts that he shares that I've read on, suicide and things like that, and being desperate and not having options. And so one of the tricks that James Altucher talks about and some of his content is about writing down 10 ideas. And so that's something that I started doing back when I was in those situations where I couldn't figure out how to solve some of my issues. I start writing down like 10 ideas to every problem. And so what you'll quickly find is when you start to do that, it starts helping your brain and your mind be able to think of alternative solutions to your problem. Because once you get past 3 or 4, you really have to dig deep and find out like, okay, like really, what are some of those issues that like just, again, crazy stuff that you've never thought of. So again, like we did in my goals video, I want to take you back to that time, right? And this is funny because what I like doing this, I like showing people some of the stuff that I've done in the past, and that so that you could see like, hey, I was just like everybody else out there, right? So if we go back and some of these things go back to 2015. By the way, 26 people watching, hit the like button. I didn't get a chance to introduce everybody today. You guys want to do that? Since we haven't done it in a while, let's do a round robin real quick. Tell us who you are. Tell me the name of your organization. Tell me what it is that you do. So let's just do a round robin real quick. Tell us your name of the organization. Tell me what city you're from. And let's go into, let's do that real quick. Tell everybody who you are. All right. Real quick. All right. Let's go. Name. Company name. City. Tell me what you do. Real quick. There's 26 people. This should be fast. All right. I don't see one reply in there. Let's go. Let's go fast. Fast, fast, fast. 26 people. Let's go. I see 5 people. All right. I see 5 people, 6 people. Let's go. 26 people. We can do this in under a minute. Let's see who we got in here. Let's see. 23 people. Come on. Who else? Don't be shy. This is the time to shine. Let people know who you are. Share with people who you are. Again, for those of us just joining us, I want to talk about James Altucher today and his article on the Guide for Becoming an Idea Machine. This helped me out when I was desperate and I was searching for clues and answers. And I know it'll help some of you out here today who's never seen it before. All right. One more minute. I'm going to go to 7:17. One more minute to tell us who you are. Tell me your city. What does your organization do? Look, again, some of us don't get a chance to go to conferences and events. This is your time to put up here what it is that you do so that people can help you. You'd be surprised how many times I got a text message today from a guy that was on one of my videos. He said that it was a year ago where him and I sat down and did an interview, and someone reached out to him from a video that I posted a year ago, an interview. So, all right, 7:17, cool. Thank you so much for doing that. We appreciate it. Like I said, for those of you out here, this is and this article has been turned into so many articles, but I went ahead and dropped this link in there for everybody to read. This is everyone's homework today. Read this article, right? The Ultimate Guide for Becoming an Idea Machine, because this helped me out so much that you can't even imagine. And so, like it says, you're in a crisis, time to change, time to become an idea machine, right? And so what happens is, before all of us had devices and TikTok and all those things, right? People used to sit back and think. And so that's why a lot of the great philosophers of the days were like thinkers, because they had a lot of time on their hand. And so this article explains really what James Altucher did to get out of his situation. And if you don't know his story, essentially James Altucher, he went broke several times. He started a company that he sold, made millions of dollars, and then went broke. He built it back up, an organization, made millions of dollars again, went broke again. And so he's got a tremendous story. But how he was able to bounce back every time was through what he calls the idea machine. And so it's funny because when I read this, and as you can see, this is a pretty old article. When I read this at the time, he talks about, are all your ideas business ideas? So here are some types of lists that he makes. He calls them idea sex, right? So where you take two ideas and you combine an idea together. Old to new, 10 old ideas that you can make a new way. All right, 10 ridiculous things, 10 books you can write, 10 business ideas for Google, Amazon, 10 people I can send ideas to, 10 podcast ideas. So this is a really 10 chapters for books. So I actually went through and I started doing this for myself. And so I'm going to share with you some of the things that I did for myself and what it did for me. And I'm going to show you, I always like to show real life examples. So we'll go through and look at some of the things that I did back in the days. And so I actually, if you look here, I like to use Evernote. So in here, I'm kind of giving you guys a backdoor into my life, but I've been keeping notes on Evernote. As you can see, this goes back 2015. But some of these notes, I'm sure, go back to even earlier than that, right? Let's see, 2015. This is where I started doing my daily ideas. Let's see, where's my personal notebook? My notebook stack. Let's see if I go back before that. And it's funny because I do things like even I write down notes for people. Let's see if I go back to anything earlier than 2015. Okay, so it looks like, 2014. So I've got notes back from 2014. All right, so I just thought that was interesting, but let's talk about the one that everybody's here for, which is the ideas. Where'd it go? Okay. All right. So let's go back. And we will show you some examples, and I'll show you how we can apply this to real life. So going back, right? Look at this. So 2015, Eric Coffie, 2015, 10 podcasts and YouTube ideas, real estate hacks, cheap DIY tricks, real estate investing, stock hacks, right? This is before government contracting. Okay. 2015, 10 epic posts, short story, video content ideas. How to build commercial credit accounts with no money. How to reverse engineer SunBiz.org. How to use Clicker Course. Dynamic small business search. 10 alternative ways to use. Type of purchases. SAP, IDIQ, JOC. How to land a joint venture partner. How to get forecast lists. FPDS. Types of searches. Strings. Real cost of employees versus contractors. How to grow your bonding. 6 I took to get $1 million bond line. This is 2015. And so what's interesting about this, right, when people would come to me for help on things, I started making a habit of myself writing down 10 ideas. And so I started doing it for myself, but then I started doing it for other people as well. And I'll show you this. So this is Tim Schrock. So I was, when I was a metal building guy and I was selling metal buildings, Tim Schrock was our CEO. And so I literally wrote down, here's some meetings for Tim Schrock, the CEO. And so what I was doing with this was I was training my mind. I was training my brain, because what I said was, okay, if I can make a habit of training myself to think of 10 ideas, 10 ways on every scenario, every situation I get into, then I will become creative at problem solving all of the things that happen to me in my life. And that's literally what happened. So I just started practicing this habit of thinking of ways in which I could not just help myself, but ways in which I can help other people. So Tim Schrock was the CEO of the time. And I said, okay, is there a meeting of presidents or CEO of metal building companies where they all attend? What about inside executives? What are some pain points in the industry that you see time and time again? And so this, I started to share with people my ideas. Let me go. 10 ideas to help identify and solicit concrete companies. All right. 10 ideas and uses for Kmart stores. Bigger pockets real estate idea. I went out and a friend of mine asked me about help. Okay, 10 ways to grow a metal building business. Again, this is 2016. So I just took, and again, I got this from James Altucher. I took what he said about building Idea Machine, and I started writing down 10 ideas for everything. And so what happens is, and I love to do this with someone live, like on the screen. What happened was my brain started to become stronger, and I start using that muscle in my brain that I was not using. Most of us, and I can tell you this because whenever you work with employees, you go, "Hey, do you have any ideas?" They're like, "No, I don't have any ideas." You don't have anything, like nothing. And so what you find is that most people are used to being given solutions, given the answers, and so they don't even know how to think. And so what I found is that with a lot of the people that I deal with, we were not trained how to think, and school does not teach you how to think. And this has been the best exercise that I know to start to stretch the idea muscle and that other side of the cortex in your brain to get you to start thinking. Bismarck ideas. So again, someone reached out to me. I don't even know who Bismarck is. Target clients, find out who currently serving, become an expert in that niche, IT for hair salons. So this is some guy that was in one of my groups that let me make it big for you guys to see it. That apparently he did. He was an IT guy. Okay. So this guy did IT work, and I wrote down 10 ideas for his business. So I said, hey, you could become the IT guy for hair salons, right? Become an expert in that niche of hair salons. I said, hey, consider becoming an advocate for that market segment, join their association, and write helpful articles, tips, tricks for solving standard IT problems. I told him he could do a GSA schedule, browse IT holders, find out local winners in South Florida, solicit them, become a vendor at Miami-Dade County, register to be a vendor at the local municipalities, target real estate offices, target gyms, target mortgage broker offices to sell your IT services, target hair salons, partner with an affiliate organization like a POS system and offer to solve their tech support help, retail stores, American Apparel, Victoria's Secret, find out how to become a vendor, help the GM solve a technical issue, help them recommend it to you. Here's local conferences and conventions where you can set up and tear down quickly, repeat business, talk to Miami Beach Convention Center, become an affiliate member of a national conference, organize an association, look at creating a software solution, can tie down software to drones, 3D printing, or AR, VR for any of the groups above. They're early adopters looking for edge to dazzle their clients. Remember, many of the firms above cater high-end clients that pay top dollars for unique services. So this is something that I did for somebody else. This was not for me. This was me practicing that I did that for somebody else. Someone else had a dent repair business. And so I talked to them about taking a dent repair business and maybe launching a training course, create workbooks and videos, sell flat fee course, upsell and journey of apprenticeship, offer unpaid internships, host meetups at your flip houses, go to Biggest Pockets Real Estate and find out who wants to buy and invest in real estate, right? They're willing to pay, partner, bootstrap a deal, right? Franchise your dent repair business. So I started doing this for people all the time. And what it turned into was a super creative guy that now, whenever someone comes to me with a problem, like my mind starts working in that way, right? And so I immediately start thinking of about a whole laundry list of solutions in which we can solve that problem. So I'll stop there, right? And I would love to work through something with someone, right? Where we can talk through a situation they have, and maybe we can come through and come up with 10 ideas to solve their problem. I like to do real life things. So I'm going to see if anybody wants to come up, and then let's crowdsource 10 ideas for them. And then we'll actually do this live, right? While we're here for the next 30 minutes. I promise you, I have a lot of stuff to do right now with this conference, but I feel like I haven't come live in a minute and I haven't shared with people. And this is something that, I feel like whenever I do a lesson, I always hope that someone gets something from it. And so this was something that I had on my heart to share with people because I had not talked about this in the past. And so again, I hope for you, those of you joining us, that when we leave here today, this will be extremely helpful for you. I'm going to put the article in here. If you want to come up and talk about it, or if you want to put it inside of the chat, a situation you're dealing with, then maybe we can help solve for it, right? I think that there's always a solution to your problem, regardless of the situation that you're in. So let me, while we're waiting for some courageous person to come up, let me read through the people who put in here who they were. Says, thank you for your immense service and community. General salute to you too as well. Let's see. Utility Maintenance Group out of Orlando. We got the Sydney Group in Atlanta, IT Engineering Staffing. Let's see. Kenny Lewis, president of Lewis Holding Global, based in Philadelphia, moving dry goods through the East Coast and storing warehouse. All Points Design, Miami, millwork. Ooh, millwork. I like millwork. ARW Solutions, Virginia IT, janitorial. Love to see it. A to Z Detroit general contractor. Love to see it. Star Cleaning Services. Nice. Kevin Lane, Orlando, Florida, Utility Maintenance Group. I like that. All right, we're waiting for some courageous person to come up. I dropped the link in the chat. Kevin Lane, Orlando, Utility Maintenance Group. Angel Green, Eastover, North Carolina, Technology Services. Love it. So you identified with that. Alvin, Reloaded Inc., all your transportation needs in New England. That's my area where I do work at, Alvin. Thank you for joining us tonight. Edward from Global Corp Canada. I don't know how to say that name. Welcome, Canada. Shannon, thank you so much. By the way, Shannon has been amazing helping us with everything with the summit. So thank you for that, Shannon. Delion Green, Washington, D.C., design smart cities using Wi-Fi 6E. Okay, I got some people for you to connect with smart cities. Sylvia, Secure Consulting, Audit, Risk Assessment, Data Analysis. That's a big deal. Just done how to pull over tube craft flange, precision machining, distribution of pipe valves, fittings, flanges. Oh, wow, Justina, I like that. That's that. I like that. Well, man, you got some exciting people here today. All right. Secure Operating Solutions, Houston, Texas. Love it. Cybersecurity, Business Ops, Smart Cities. Currently sourcing for Microsoft Surface laptops. Nice. Who else? Jamila Curtis, Southern Bellroom, Atlanta, Georgia. All right, cool. All right. Who's coming up? All right. Who's coming up? Who's the brave soul who's going to come up today? All right, Chris Thomas. All right. All right, you got to turn me down in your background.
Yes, I did.
All right.
Sorry about that.
No worries. All right, you're up. How are you, sir?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Where are you calling from?
New York, Westchester.
New York. Okay. All right. Tell us the name of your company. What is it your company does?
All right. So Pencer LLC, Pencer Industry LLC. Um, Currently, my case code, I'm registered as a product supplier, just
Okay.
reseller for the government.
Okay.
So,
Nice.
so my issue is I'm having an issue transitioning successfully from my job into government contracting.
Okay.
My major problem is time. My
Sure.
job is very time consuming. Early starts, late home, and I have a new addition to my family, so that's a huge challenge right now. So, trying to figure out how do I transition from busy work schedule to wanting to become self-sustained, self-employed. Um, so that's one of the biggest challenges I
That's a
have.
great question. I love that. All right. So, did everyone hear what he said? So I'm sure that there are thousands of other people that have the same issues, right? How do I got a full-time job. How do I transition from my job? Is there anybody who's done it that can share some of the things that they've done in the past? I mean, I have my ideas, right? So clearly I got my ideas, but I'd like to see if there's anybody out there, Yvette, anybody out there who's done it, who's had a challenge with it before. So I will say this. I will start. Recently, one of my students actually submitted a source of salt response for an opportunity. And his source of salt response, again, he's in the IT space. He was able to, he started his company, right? Because he just formed the company, right? So that didn't take any work for him. And then he submitted a source of salt response. And then from the source of salt response, he did a negotiation with the government. And then he was awarded his first contract. Okay. Now, that did not allow him to leave his job yet, but that did give him a contract that he was able to use to generate income, and he's negotiating a second contract with that same agency. I don't know the profits, I don't know the numbers on it, but that's how he started while remaining attaining a job. I can tell you myself, what I did was while I was at my last job, which was like 6 years ago, right? I literally was doing the I was sending bids and negotiating while on my job. That's what I did, right? So, and I did not leave my job until I had a contract that basically was able to pay me enough money, right, to offset my salary,
Okay.
right? And so for me, I remember taking phone meetings in the conference rooms. I remember taking meetings like, I would excuse myself, kind of like how people do smoke breaks, right? Like other people do smoke breaks all the time and nobody says anything to them. I would do some of the similar. I'm like, hey, I'd run to the bathroom and then I'd take a call real quick, like, and negotiating my contract. And so, then I use like, I don't know what you call it. I've only had like a couple jobs in my life, so I don't know the words. But what is it called when you take like a time off from work? Not
Oh, yeah, PTO.
PTO. There you go. Right. So I basically took like a PTO for a couple weeks to finish like negotiating out my contract. Right. I used my time, my PTO to finish that, and basically, so I can have like regular, consistent meetings, and then I use that to actually finalize everything, get them to be able to ship the products. And then once it was shipped and I basically invoiced it, I had enough money to start. And then that's how I started. Right.
Okay. So you basically sold products to kind of get some
So again, I'm in services, but my services were tied to a product. So for example, like, in my case, I was selling the government the installation of a building,
Mhm.
but part of the installation of the building was to actually sell them the building.
Oh, okay.
So I sold them the installation of the building, which included the building. And I can tell you, I know exactly when like I left because what I did was I front loaded that contract. What does that mean? That means that let's say the building was $200,000, right? So, by the way, this is also, Chris, important. This was a subcontract, so I wasn't the prime.
Okay.
So it was a subcontract. I was not the prime, and what I did was I charged them for the engineering of the building. So let's say my building was, let's say the building is 200,000, right? So what I did was the 200,000. Let's say that's the building, but let's say it cost me 150,000. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say told them, hey, I'm going to sell to you for 200. I paid 150. Well, what I did was that other difference, I called it engineering.
Okay.
So I considered the engineering of the building because you have to engineer the design. And so I broke down a separate line item of like 40 grand for engineering. So I've got $150,000 building, 40,000 in engineering, plus, a little bit of profit, whatever. So when the building people gave me the engineering drawings, it cost me zero. I sent it to the government client. They know there's an engineering cost to it because when I buy a building, it comes with the engine. Like that's part of the package.
Right. Yeah.
So I broke that out as a separate line item. And so then I was able to send the engineering drawings, right, to get approved, which cost me zero. And then when the engineering got approved, then I was able to send an invoice for 40 grand.
Okay.
And so they paid me the 40,000. The engineering got approved, and then I had $40,000 in my pocket.
Okay. So, I mean, that's a good idea. I got one that's similar to that where being a subcontractor or just a middleman for basically any business, you don't have to be an expert.
Correct.
The
And
contractor.
that's why I tell people to start that way, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have to actually do the work.
Right. So the subcontractor would be the SME, and you basically would probably get a quote from them, and then you would upcharge it. You put your 20, 30%.
Yeah, I mean, in my case, yes. Yeah, I mean, you got people that yes. I happen to be a metal building, like a rep, right? So I was a rep for the metal building company, and then like anything else, right? You've got your pricing that is like my pricing, and then you've got pricing that you build to the public, right? That's just standard, like anything. Like everybody has that. Pfizer, everybody. So for me, we literally, I like the guy said, you call yourself a project manager, whatever the case may be. But like every building, there's engineering. Like any type, anything that you do that requires design work that has to be approved. That's called engineering. So, but sometimes depending upon like they don't charge you for that, and so because I bought a whole building from them, the engineering was included. I just broke it out as a separate line item, and I build it separately. So that's what I did.
Okay.
But in your case, like you said, a middleman, I really don't like the term middleman because it seems like you're doing nothing. And that's what people get the gist. And I don't want people to think you're doing nothing because you're always doing something, right? You may not be the one physically doing the work, but like the person said here, you're basically managing the project.
Yeah.
So that has a negative connotation a lot, middleman. I use it because it's one of those words that people love to Google and search. And so if I don't do it, somebody else is going to use it. But I really want to teach people the proper way is you're not middlemaning anything. Really managing a project is where the government sees the most value. So in managing a project, really, that's why the largest companies, like for example, all of my tribal partners, they don't actually do any physical work, but the government doesn't care because they want somebody who's liable and responsible to get the project from zero to completion on time. There's a lot of value in that. We somehow as minorities have been taught that physically holding ratchets and hammers and stuff makes us like bravado. That's not where like that has no value to the government. It says it in the regulations that if you are the one managing the project and responsible for it, that is you meeting your percentage work requirement, not physically driving a truck and delivering concrete to the job site. That is not where they hold the weight. So you're not middle managing, you're actually project managing. And so it's just, I just have to use the slang terms that my people know.
Okay.
But I got to educate them the right way, right? So I want people to do that.
Okay. What other?
Ashley says she works 8 to 5, 6 to 10 in her business.
Hey, if you get home at 6, I mean, shoot, I'm home at like 8, 9 o'clock, so it's pretty much one.
Well, let me tell you, have you ever read the 4-Hour Workweek? When I read the 4-Hour Workweek,
I did the audiobook of it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so one of the things he talks about, right, is convincing your boss to go from a 5-day week to a 4-day week.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's one of the things that Tim Ferriss talks about is instead of doing, 8 5s, do like a doctor, do 4 10s.
Okay.
And so that's something that they talked about.
I was always thinking cold turkey. Everyone says no, but
cold turkey is tough, right? I mean, listen, I'm not opposed to cold turkey. I just don't know if it's if people can stomach that, right? You got a lot of responsibilities. And so for me, cold turkey is something that I can deal with that. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. So, again, going back to Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek book, if all of us out here, you go through your worst day, right? Which is like, let's say eating ramen noodles back again, eating bologna sandwiches, living in a efficiency, it's not the end of the world. But for some of us, we built such a high profile lifestyle that really we think that like it's the end of the world. And so it's kind of the situation where it's the guy who's a billionaire that goes down to worth only 100 million that's depressed versus the guy who starts from, a millionaire that goes to 100 million that's excited. So that's kind of where we're all at in our journeys, but we don't think about it that way. And so that's why we talk about how to train your mind, because a lot of us are depressed for no really good reason, because we really start out with less than what we have today, but we somehow feel more anxious. Does that make sense, Chris? Does that make sense? Is that true?
Psychologically, yeah.
Psychologically, right? So we built up this. I mean, the majority of us live better than we lived when we grew up.
I'm from the Caribbean. I can attest to
that. You see? So listen, but that's just the nature, right? So we've all, again, if we look at even our ancestors, right? I mean, we're living better than all of our ancestors ever lived. Even the richest people 100 years ago didn't live as good as some of the poorest people today. So that's just the reality of it is. But we've somehow managed to convince ourselves we're depressed for reasons that were at one point trivial before, but now they've caused us to have the Great Depression. So I'm okay with going to cold turkey, just not sure if that's something I want to publicly advise people, because I don't want to be liable for anybody's misfortune.
No, I mean, I fantasize about it only because I've created a couple options for myself. Like, for instance, I'm a notary. So it'll force me to get into being active in that field, even though I haven't been active. But I am a registered notary in New York. That's the way my mind works, where, okay, yeah, I have opportunities, but I don't have the time to facilitate. So if I quit, then I'll have the time to start really grinding and going after certain opportunities that I know I'm qualified to participate in.
Yeah, I mean, again, look, like anything else, right? I personally believe, right? And again, if you listen to people out here, most people are not leaving everything on the line. And that's what I feel is a difference, right? I leave everything on the line. Most people are not doing that, right? People could say all they want about Grant Cardone and some of these people, but he says he invests all his money and then he has to start over again and make more money. Right. So the people that I know, they say do something big enough that it hurts, like it's painful, like the loss. And so most of us don't even do anything big enough to make the loss painful enough. Right. So we're doing little bitty stuff, little incremental steps. And so we're not even doing anything big enough. Like basically, it's insignificant, the stuff that you're attempting and trying. It's not even worth, like you said, if you're going to quit your job, right? then you should go after like $50 million opportunities.
Mm.
I would say don't quit your job to try to resell like remote controls or $10 items.
Right.
If you're gonna quit your job, right, go after $5 million opportunities.
Mm. Yeah, something that's going to be worth the time.
Something that's worth it, right? Something that like you're gonna basically you're gonna fail miserably or hit a home run.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not worth it to me. So again, when you listen to all the entrepreneur stories, I mean, they bet the farm. When I was in college and I started my first company, the investors that I was soliciting to, I was doing this pitch competition. I'll never forget this because I was like 19 years old. I'm pitching to these investors, all like middle-aged white guys, rich, beyond whatever belief at the time. And I asked them for like, I don't know, maybe it's 100,000, whatever, 200,000, like, for $1 million value. You know how you do. I've got $1 million valuation. Give me 100,000, you get 10% of my company. Kind of like Shark Tank, but that was real life. And so I will never forget this. This sticks with me all the time. They say, has your mom invested in your company? And I go, what's my mom got to do with this? They said, well, if your mom hasn't invested in you and she loves you and she believes in you, then why should we invest in you?
That's a got you question, but yeah.
That's a what?
That's a got you question. They did that just to see what you would respond.
Well, no, they did it because that's how they feel. If I'm going to put my money up, right? If I know your mom's money's on the line, then you're going to fight to the end to make this work because you will not want to lose your mom's money.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're talking about mindset today, right? Today's mindset, right? How to train your mind, how to think. This is the way people think. So then I go, well, my mom doesn't have, $50,000. They said, does she own a house? I said, yeah. Tell her to take a line of equity out against her house and then give it to you.
Makes sense.
But guess what? The people that we all look up to, that's what they do.
Mm.
Several of my podcast guests, I can think of 3 of them right now. Carol Craig is the most recent one in my brain. Even at this point in her career, she put her house up as collateral to finance payroll. That's the same concept. But we are sitting here saying that we want to be insured or guaranteed a result before we even try something. But yet the entrepreneur that we marvel and look up to put their whole house on the line. I just interviewed another entrepreneur of mine recently who said the same thing. For the first 5 years, he put his house on the line. If you guys go back and listen to the episode with the NHO Ray Hardeen, for the first 5 years of his business, he put his house on the line. Some of my podcast guests cashed out their 401ks for their retirements to start their business.
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
And so we're sitting here talking about a job. They risked their entire retirement, which was 20 years of work saved. You could go get another job. You can't go get another retirement.
Nah, that's true.
So again, today we're talking about mindset, right? And so this is the thing that people are not willing to do to get to what they're saying are their dreams and their hopes I've lost houses before. I've moved out of my big house before. I moved to a small town of 5,000 people before. I lived in the small town on the black side across the tracks before, next to a power plant where they're polluting the black community. It was a $40,000 house. I went from a downtown apartment high rise to a $40,000 house that I bought for cash in a black community across the tracks next to a polluted field. My own brother said he would never live there because it reminds him of his childhood. This is how bad I wanted it.
That sounds exciting.
It sounds exciting, but you're not willing to do it. Most people aren't willing to do it.
I'm willing to do it. I'm just on the fence.
So I tell people, like, they say, how did you do it? Well, I got rid of my $2,000 a month apartment in Miami, which today is $4,000 a month, and I moved into a $40,000 house, which basically was my apartment, 2 years of rent. But I still had a house.
Yeah.
It was only an hour and 20 minutes from Miami. That's what I did.
Okay.
So there's ways to do it, right? We just have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so many of us are not comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so we want the comfort of, living in the nice place, driving a nice car, doing all the nice stuff. But then we want to be an entrepreneur and a business person and then have the success. So I'm telling you, my own brother, right now, I mean, when I was doing that, he said I would never live in that community. I said, why? Because there's black people there? Like, what's the big deal? It was a housing community. Yes, it was the black part of town, but I mean, it was still a house. I'm like, but he said he wouldn't live there. Okay, by the way, for the record, he doesn't own a house even till this day.
Oh, wow.
No, because he always was very prideful in where he wanted to go and what he wanted. And so he always missed out on the mark because he wanted to live in these communities that he couldn't afford to get into. So rather than starting small and stepping up, he basically kept missing out on opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And so, whereas, several of my homes today are paid off, like zero mortgage.
Right. Yeah.
He still doesn't have a single house.
He doesn't have one. Not even one.
Because he never started, because he wouldn't sacrifice. So this is what I hear when people on the other side of this camera talk to me. I see my brother and everybody. And so that's the real life story for me. It's like they don't want to go back to go farther. They want to stay here and still somehow continue to grow and build. And just, you can't, it's hard. It's too hard to do that. So if I had not reduced my lifestyle, I would have still needed my $80,000 a year job to be able to continue to live in my downtown apartment to fund my lifestyle. So I couldn't start my YouTube channel and start the things that I was doing. So I had to step back, move away, right? People thought I was crazy. They said, what's wrong with you? Why would you come to this little small hick town where the people have the trucks with the nuts hanging down and the big flags with 2024 on it? You know the person's name with the bleach hair and all that crazy stuff. Okay, that's where I lived at. Okay, where they have a drive-through liquor store. You can drive through and get your liquor in a cup, in a sippy cup. And so because they put the top on it, it's considered a closed container. That's where I lived at.
This is Florida?
This is Florida.
What part of Florida is that? That's insane.
It's a town called Clewiston, Florida.
Clewiston,
Florida.
Clewiston,
Florida.
Sounds cheap. I mean, yeah, solid move over there.
Oh, I mean, listen, we ended up buying, my sister bought 2 houses. I bought a house. We ended up buying like 5 houses there.
Sounds right for investing.
I mean, yeah, but nobody wanted it at the time. It sounds good, but people like at the time, nobody wanted that stuff. Because why? If we were like, oh, I don't want to go there. Who wants to live in that town?
No, people are renting in that town, so it's also generating money.
Hey, this is the town right here. Clewiston, Florida.
Doesn't look too bad.
Well, I mean, again, you're looking at aerial views. So it's called the sweetest town. So if you go to Clewiston, Florida, and if you go to Harlem, this is where I stayed at in Harlem. It looked fine to me. I was like, hey, these are houses. I'm cool with it.
Trust me, better than New York.
Well, I mean, again, but some people, again, what did I say? Some people have built themselves up, right? They went from 0 to $1 billion, now they're back to 100 million, and they're saying that they can't do that anymore. We all agree. It's better than most of the places where we grew up. But when you come up here now and you put yourself up in a pedestal, you're saying, oh, I can't come down here anymore.
Yeah. And
that's what I'm not saying that, like, clearly it's just like how it looks like how I grew up. But when you are making 50,000, 60,000 a year, you're like, I don't want to live in that kind of neighborhood. Like, what's wrong in the neighborhood? But check this out. Look at today. Hold on. Wait. Let me show you this. Remember I told you how much I paid for the house? Hold
Yeah,
on.
you said 40 grand.
40,000. What is this? Why isn't that showing it? It's not letting me click on this thing right now. Sorry. My streamer's not working good. Yeah, I was gonna show you. It says now the medium house is 135,000 there.
Wow. From 40 to 135.
That's what it says. Why does that let me show it? Oh man. Okay, here we go. Look what it says. Medium real estate, 138,000.
That's a steal. That's a
Oh
steal.
no, we bought
Yeah.
I bought a house. I bought two houses. My sister bought two houses, and my best friend bought a house. We got 5 houses there. My sister just sold one of her homes there. She paid 40,000. She sold it for 150 grand, like a couple months ago.
110,000 profit. That's
But again, people, yeah, it's you're count. Listen, I get that's easy, Chris, to say. Like Steve Jobs says, connecting the dots, looking forward, not looking, looking backwards, not looking forward. That back then, if it was so easy, how come nobody else was buying it? How come nobody else wanted it?
lack of vision.
There you go. There you go. So they didn't have that mentality. People are like, why would you go buy in that town? If it's some people think, oh, $40,000. Oh man, it must be something wrong with that place. Is that a trailer? What are you talking about? 40,000 for a house with brick? I'm like, hello, just go see it. You don't have to like, but most of us, rather than going to investigate, we just talk. We talk. We never went to go look. We never went to go see. We never did any type of homework. And so, instead, we basically just talk smack. And so we don't know what we're talking about.
Yep.
And so, hold on. Let me see if I can show y'all. So we don't know. And then we listen to our friends who say, oh, I wouldn't buy over there. I wouldn't live out there. I wouldn't do that. Right. And so you listen to your friends that are broke, don't have no money, and then they tell you what to do, what not to do. And so then you come back and you want to now, hold on, see if I can find it for you guys. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah. They go back and they ask their friends. And so their friends don't know any better. And so basically you get bad information. And that's the reality of it.
I say 95% of the information is hearsay, and no one actually did the research. They just regurgitate.
Correct.
What they heard from other people.
Actually, correct. Yeah.
If you ask them for the facts and the details of it, they won't be able to tell you.
Yeah. Here. I'm going to show you guys because I love y'all. There you go, right there. There you go. Sold 155. Hold on. Let's go back and see the history of it. Where can I see the history of it?
It already went up in value.
Hold on. Yeah, but who cares about that? Look, listen. Y'all see this right here? Y'all see that?
Might want to zoom in.
See how much we paid? January 2017. See it?
Yeah.
42,000. January 2017, 42,000. So April 23, 155,000.
Almost fourfolds.
And again, but people said they didn't want that. So other people said they wouldn't live there. right? So again, mindset. You know, I tried to getting other like I tried to get everybody I know to invest, and nobody would believe me. They're like, nah, man, that can't be real. Like, there's no $40,000 houses. I'm like,
It doesn't
okay,
matter what you do. It doesn't really matter what you do. I tried it with my family. Yeah, when I started doing stocks, I tried to get them
yeah,
to
but
invest.
forget about your family, Chris. We're talking about you. Don't worry about your
Yeah, yeah,
family.
yeah.
We talking about you right now, right? So what are you gonna do? We ain't talking about your family. Listen, you know, we talking about Chris, right? So again, going back to answer your questions, right? You know, look, again, people say probably won't get cheaper. People keep saying all this stuff, but they still nah, she didn't double her money, she tripled the money.
That's almost quadruple. She went from 40 to
Well, you know, you got to pay fees and taxes, stuff like that. So,
yeah.
but it doesn't matter, you know. But I mean, look, she still has another house. We still have more houses over there, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, so I want to, you know, I hope that again, like you said, really, if you want something bad enough, you have to make that decision, right? And so, I tell people, you're not a tree. You can move. I moved from Miami to that town, and so you know, because of the stigma of like, oh, this is a small town. Oh, you left Miami, right? A lot of people look down upon me. But when you're making content and videos in your house, nobody sees where you live at anyways. And most people don't even come to visit you. So like none of this stuff really matters. So again, it's almost like who cares? Right. And so I lived in that town for 3 years.
Oh wow.
I didn't live on that side of town. I lived in that side of town for about 8 months.
Okay.
Because the town is so small that the good side of town where the bigger homes are, there was nothing for sale. It's so small. like there were no houses for sale. Like just none. So they didn't even exist. So it's interesting. I had to wait for like homes to be listed on the marketplace for
Right.
me to buy something. And so then I basically I had one of those houses, and then I basically I moved to the other side of town within like 8 months. I bought a house that was, I mean, it was on a nice side of town, but it was a dump because the lady basically lived there for like 60 years. So everything was like 60 years old. So I basically had to gut it. Um, and even at the time, I didn't even have all the money to do the repairs after I purchased the house. Because remember, I was coming back from several lawsuits and being $200,000 in the hole.
Right.
So again, when you talk about stepping out, right, this is where people fail. When you talk about stepping out, I had to step out on faith that, okay, I'm going to buy this house that needs complete gutting, like gut, which was, by the way, it was a much bigger house than those homes. This one was close to like 2,500, 2,700 square feet, 2 stories. And I was like, it's going to be like $60,000 to fix this house up. Right. And I'm like, okay, after my closing costs, because I had bad credit. So I had to put down 20% plus closing fees. So, you know, I was like, I'm not going to have any more money to throw 60,000 in this house.
Mm-hmm.
But I still bought it anyways, right? And so I trusted that things would work out for me. And so I bought the house anyways. And so at the end of the day, I bought that house. The second home, I put down the 20%. That house was a little bit more expensive than the 40 grand. That one I think was about 150, 160,000. And I put down 20%, which was like 30,000, 35,000, plus my closing costs. So I had to come up with like $48,000. So basically I was back to nothing again. Like that's all I had in the bank. And but I bought it anyways. And long and behold, when I bought the house, I picked up a consultant client that started paying me $2,000 a week.
Oh wow.
And so my first couple of meetings with him, he paid me $7,000, $10,000. And so I start using that money I made from my consulting client to start renovating my house that I had just purchased. So again, I operate on faith. I'm a big believer, you
Yeah.
know. And so for me, I think we've lost that in our communities and our cultures. And so we all grew up, like all of us grew up being taught these principles that we've somehow abandoned and we've forgotten. And so now we're trying to we're walking and we are no longer believers. And so even with my conference that I have today, right? We haven't hit all my numbers yet, and like the hotel tripled my food cost from 25,000 to 68,000. So now I've got to come up with another $40,000, 43,000 for my hotel bill that I didn't have to account for today. But I'm still operating on faith that somehow I'll pull off the additional 43,000 expenses that basically sideswipe me, right? Literally 2 weeks, 5 weeks out from my event date. So that's the difference between me and a lot of people. And I've basically, through some of these exercises that I talked to, some of these things that I've done in my life, it's basically, it's shown me that this can happen for all of us. But because we don't operate in faith, we, and by the way, they say faith without works, right? You got to have work. So, and again, this stuff, Chris. I don't even have to know this stuff, right? But sometimes it takes people reminding us about it. And so, that's basically what I'm here for, is to remind folks that, I'm not doing this all on my own, right? So, I'm a big believer. I don't say that all the time for people because, I don't want to turn people off, but whatever people believe in, it can happen and it will happen, but you got to take the first step. So I would say downgrade my life, right? Move to a smaller place. Even if I had to commute a little bit more, ask for maybe 4 days instead of 5 days, right? Change my hours around, right? And so that I can spend a day working on this stuff. And that's what I would do.
Well, yeah, I'm in the process of downgrading, so
there you go, downgrade, and then come back up.
Yeah, I'm trying.
I mean, look, you guys heard me on here. I don't think I ever shared that story about the place where I live, but that's what I did. I mean, it just made sense to me. I could throw away $2,000 a month, which was $24,000 a year, versus I bought this house for $40,000. If I stayed in that apartment for 3 years, right, that would have cost me what, $72,000?
Yeah.
The house was $40,000.
So you could have got that in 2 years.
I could have bought 2 of those houses, right, with 3 years of rent. And then I would own 2 houses that are worth now $150,000 a piece, which is $300,000. It's kind of like when you ever heard people say, instead of buying a Tesla, buy Tesla stock.
Yeah.
So the guy who bought Tesla bought a $100,000 car. The guy who bought Tesla stock got $1 million worth of stock. So that's the way to look at it. So for me, that's what I did. And it turned out to be the right decision. And so now that's why I'm able to throw a conference, right? And, be able to bring all these people, because I did those things back then to be able to line up today. And so no one actually cares anymore about me living in those houses, me living in those places. Like, no one even cares anymore about that stuff. So none of this is going to matter at the end of the day, right? You got to realize how like small we are in the context of the world, right? Like, you're so insignificant and you're so small, but yet we think we're so big and we're so like grandiosa. And really you're not, when it comes to, in the context of your city, in your state, and then within the country, and then within, this part of the Americas. And then when it comes to the entire world, like, we're really nobody, like we're really nothing. And so to put all this pressure on yourself and to think that you've got to, whatever, live where you live and drive what you drive and, be able to like live up to some expectations that other people have for you is insane, because you're never going to get to where you are destined to be by doing that. So that's me. That's what I did, and I hope that helps some people out there.
Yep, that helps me a lot.
All right, brother. Listen, let me keep going. Thank you for coming up, Chris. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Thanks.
All right, bye.
Bye. All right, guys. Well, listen, this, I love it. I love the engagement, right? I love having conversations like this. This was fun for me. Like I said, for me, when we start off with James Altucher and, thinking about ways in which, you can train your mind, I think we've lost that, right? So we've really lost that. And we have to go back to those things, because even like what's happening with the affirmative action situation with the 8A program, I talked to my students on Tuesday's call, my advanced students, about even with that situation, what can we do to solve that problem, right? And so I brought them some other partners that are willing to give us the 8A status, give us a small business status to be able to overcome the situation that other people have placed us in with the stroke of a pen. And so I'll leave you with this, because one of the gentlemen that I met with today, where is it at? Whose company just left small business status. They're in that mid-tier level, about 600 employees. He talked about they have a new thing called the stroke of a pen. Where is it at? And so, and I can't find it, of course. Hold on. So what he said was that essentially people are making significant impacts on our lives with the stroke of a pen. And so what they did with the whole affirmative action thing, basically, that's right, Ashley, faith without works is dead. Well, I knew he knew how to finish it. That's why, I let them do. But what they did with the whole affirmative action thing that now has trickled down to the 8A program, right? What other actions are they going to take that's going to impact us business owners, right? Entrepreneurs, that with the stroke of a pen is going to essentially change our lives. I personally had a $700,000 sole source contract on the table that is now in jeopardy because of that whole litigation with the Tennessee judge. And so we need to essentially, I think, just for our own selves, right? We need to look at how do we adapt? How do we evolve? And so I think that this message is even more important, because if you don't have other ways and ideas about how to solve these issues, then I could see a lot of people becoming very depressed or emotionally drained from all of the negativity that they're seeing that we're facing right now. And so for me, I want to give people a way out. And so I'm constantly looking for solutions to help basically work around all of these things that continue to impact us time and time again. And so for me, I need all of you out there doing the same thing. And so I want to help you be able to train your minds how to think, how to become more creative, and how to problem solve, and so that you can adapt to all of these unforeseen circumstances and situations that are happening to all of us out here. So, like I said, with the stroke of a pen, they basically pushed us back to the back of the bus again. And I mean that with all of my heart, right? Because the 8A program was one of those programs where it was giving minority people a chance, an opportunity to basically have real wealth in this country. And so they essentially took that away from us. So I need all of you out here to learn how to basically have the idea machine so that you can start coming up with alternative ways and solutions so that we can continue to thrive and grow, and at the same time help the mission, because the mission still has to go on. We're still all American citizens here. And so the mission has to continue to go on. So the mission must go on, right? We have to grow our industrial base. We have to fight some of our enemies overseas. And so what are we going to do about it, right? I see there's still 26 people watching. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you share this with your friends. Thank you so much. I do have to go back and get some work done. I hope this message touched a couple people out there. I hope we're able to touch some hearts and get people thinking of things in a different light. So thank you so much for everyone watching tonight. I'll see you guys next time. It's been a pleasure, and I love all of you.